Hey, welcome to Sci Fi Secrets. So, today I'm going to be talking about Space Sweepers, a movie on Netflix. And first, I want to say I held off on this movie because I thought it would be hot garbage. Instead, I was honestly surprised. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but it's a lot better than your average Sci-Fi Channel movie by a long shot. The writer, in my opinion, is clearly a fan of a lot of science fiction. The harpoons they use to capture the debris is very reminiscent of... Okay, originally in my script I had written here Privateers by Ben Bova because I thought it was from that book. But then I went and checked and it's not from that book. I spent over an hour looking through my books. Like I said, at first I thought it might be Privateers by Ben Bova. It wasn't Privateers. So then I looked at Empire Builders. It wasn't that. It wasn't Power Sat, and it wasn't any of the Rock Rats novels. So then I was thinking maybe it was Brennan in Larry Niven's Protector novel. But nope, wasn't that either. So I checked the Man-Kazin Wars, and I think it's one of the stories in there, but I couldn't find it. So clearly I'm remembering something wrong. I thought it was at the beginning of a novel, but maybe it wasn't at the beginning of a novel, or maybe it wasn't a novel at all, maybe it was in a short story. But anyway, what I remember is someone using magnetic grapples. I think it was magnetic grapples, which is a term that Larry Niven uses in some of his books, so it's probably, like I said, in Man-Kazin Wars. But I remember they were using magnetic grapples to slow the spin of a spent rocket booster that was somewhere in the solar system, and they used the grapples, magnetic grapples, to bring the booster back and sell it. They said it was worth quite a bit. So if you know what story that is, then please comment it, because it's driving me nuts now. I remember the story semi-clearly, but I don't remember what happens after that. If I could, I'm sure I'd know what story or novel it's from. But anyway, well, looking for the book, one thing that I did find is they are already using magnetic grapples now. They've been testing them out in the UK space program. So even if the story I'm thinking of wasn't the inspiration for Space Sweepers in this scene, it probably was for the real-life version. Other parts of the movie are reminiscent of Cowboy Bebop, Serenity, Ark, and even Star Wars. One funny thing is the very first thing I thought was a negative about this movie turned out to be one of its biggest positives. At one point they said that they were leaving Earth for Mars because the old cliche that Earth was poisoned and they, needed a new place to live. But this makes no sense at all. If you have the tech to terraform Mars, then you have the technology to clean up the Earth for much less money, much cheaper, and a lot faster. And guess what? One of the main characters actually asks that question. They actually made that part of the plot, so I'm really happy about that. I think that's the first time I've seen that in a movie. So that brings up their Sci-Fi Secrets score quite a bit. So let's go over the positives of the movie first. The robot was pretty funny. If you watch it in subs, the black Korean guy's English accent is pretty funny too. Yeah, that guy's supposed to be an American. But honestly, I think it was a little bit better in the dub. I kind of switched back and forth while I was watching it. The dub seemed less confusing with all the bad accents that everybody was speaking in. And I was honestly wondering why at some points there was no subs. And then I realized that they were supposedly speaking in English. That's how broken their English was. But yeah, it makes it a little bit hard to understand at points. Another thing I liked was the ending twist with the bomb. It was pretty well done. Maybe some other people saw it coming a little better than I did, but I was a little bit tired when I was watching it, so I was just watching it. I wasn't really analyzing it at that point. I was getting ready for bed because it's near the end of the movie. And I didn't expect it, so when they did it, I thought they did it pretty well. But maybe that was just my tired brain. Alright, so now for the problems with the movie. So I'm mostly going to be speaking about the physics problems with the movie, or this, problems that make it not as sci-fi in my opinion. So one of the things is they seem to be using Star Wars space rules. What I mean by that is there seems to be friction in space, and there doesn't seem to be the correct equal and opposite forces. The robot in this scene that I'm showing right now should go flying backwards here when he throws the harpoon, because he's throwing it with so much force that he should be launched, off the back of the ship. But he doesn't do that because they didn't get the space physics quite right in this movie. And then the ships are basically indestructible, just like in Star Wars. And in reality, anything light enough to be flying around is going to be very easy to destroy. So anytime I see really tough spaceships, especially when they're moving fast like they do in this movie, then it just kind of ruins it for me, because it's going to be one or the other. You're going to either have very heavy armoring, or you're going to be moving fast and light. And for what they're doing, they're going to be moving fast and light. So in the scenes where they're like running into each other and running into the walls and stuff, that would kill the people inside. So that's a little bit lower on their sci-fi secret score. Yeah, and then here, this scene right here where he rips off the plate, or she rips off the plate, and it just goes flying backwards. Why would it go flying backwards? They're in space. There's no air. There's no friction. There's nothing, no force acting on the plate to make it go flying backwards. It should just be floating along with the ship. But like I said, space friction. I guess they're in the atmosphere of space. Okay, and then there's another thing. This is the little thing, but the part where the robot couldn't remember the little girl, it kind of bothered me, because robots should have perfect memory. I mean, your hard drive in your computer doesn't forget things. I mean, unless it's breaking down, but the robot isn't, breaking down. But like I said, that's not a big deal. Another minor gripe is the Lagrangian points that they keep saying. Maybe that's only on the dub, because I think I only heard that part on the dub. I was switched to that for the part of the movie. But Lagrangian points is technically correct. But Lagrangian means many things. It has like a lot of meanings outside of Lagrangian points. So most people just call them the Lagrange points, which is the term that I prefer. So like I said, it's not even anything that's actually like a negative, because it's technically correct. It's just I don't know. It bothers me. Call them Lagrange points. My final gripe with it is the biggest one. It changes the movie from a borderline hard sci-fi movie to very soft sci-fi, in my opinion. And that's the magical nanobots. They completely break physics in about 100 different ways. They make absolutely no sense. For one, they can do anything. And yes, nanobots could be made to do multiple things. They can build, they can destroy, they can hold together in a shell if you really wanted them to, but they can't do all those things at once. Nanobots are so small, the idea behind them is they're made to do one thing, and they're made to do it in chorus with a bunch of other ones. So they shouldn't have the ability to do multiple things, or at best, like a couple related things, like building and destroying, or tearing apart metals and tearing apart rock, carbon-based, like, rocks and things like that. But then they do things that just don't make any sense at all. There's the scene where they end up making like a shell around the people and like then teleports them back somehow. Like that, okay, I can kind of see the making the shell around the people to protect them, but then somehow it becomes its own. All the nanobots are what, miniature spaceships now? They just fly around on their own, like bringing whatever's inside with them. That part made absolutely no sense. Another thing they shouldn't really be able to do is hack computers. I could maybe see a few ways they might be able to do to hack a computer, but all the ways I can see, they would have to be physically attached to the computer. They basically seem to have Wi-Fi devices, power supplies, and CPUs with memory to be able to hack these computers like they're doing. Plus they can, make shells. Plus they can do this, that, and the other. Yeah, like making enough thrust to like practically teleport the people in their ship at light speed halfway across the frickin' universe. And I mean, like, what are they using for thrust? They're tiny. They don't even have enough, like they're, the idea behind a nanobot is there's few molecules as possible. And so what are you going to make the tank out of? What are you going to have inside the tank? You're going to have 2 molecules inside the tank, and then when they shoot out, they're just done. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, how did they move? How did they move the ship? And then just to drive the point home about how totally and completely Deus Ex Machina these little nanobots are, there's a line where they say the only way to destroy the nanobots is with 200 million degrees Celsius temperatures. 200 million degrees Celsius, huh? To give you an idea of how insane that is, the surface of the sun is about 5,500 degrees Celsius. Lightning is about 25,000 degrees Celsius. And the core of the sun is around 15 million degrees Celsius. So we're talking about like almost 20 times the temperature of the center of the sun. And I'm sure why they're saying that is because nukes can apparently get up to about 200 or even possibly 300 million degrees, depending on the material that they're made out of. But they only do it for a split instant. Seems to me like the core of the sun would be enough to destroy anything possible. You don't need a nuke. He obviously picked that number just because that's like, there's a lot of like websites that say that the nukes put out 200 million degrees Celsius. But yeah, like I said, like the center of the sun is gonna be enough to destroy just about anything. Like, as far as I can think of anything. If you can think of anything that wouldn't be destroyed in the center of the sun, then go ahead and comment it. But yeah, so what are these nanobots made out of? Apparently they're made out of magic. So that's the biggest cut on my sci-fi score for this movie. So overall, I'm gonna give it about 2.5 stars out of 5. Because it's not your cheesy, crappy sci-fi channel movie, and it's not, it's no masterpiece. It's nothing that great. It's just kind of the middle of the spectrum. It's a fun little movie. I think most fans of sci-fi will have a good time watching it. Just don't analyze it too hard, or it'll all fall apart. So if you like that, like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you back here again. Take care.
No hope left on Earth. I'm very sorry, Mr. Sullivan. Prove it.